Good morning, everybody. It is a beautiful, cloudy morning here in Zone 9B in Texas. It's about 70 degrees. The kids are on spring break. They're with their grandma. So I took the time to get my garden planted. I planted it yesterday. Today is March the 12th. So I think we're past our last frost. The pecan trees are budding. So I think we're going to be safe. If not, I'll cover them up and pray and start again if I have to. I just wanted to take you on a little tour of my raised bed gardens and my containers. This is the view as soon as I walk out the back door. It is absolutely beautiful to me. There's a lot of work that needs to be done. Have a lot of cleaning to do, weeding and stuff like that, but this is the sight that I like to see when I walk out the back door. I have missed this over the winter. So this is a 4x4 raised bed. I have 3 of them. And then I have a 2-foot by 8-foot raised bed in the back. Thanks to Jess and my at Roots and Refuge, I have my cattle panel arch. And kind of got it lit out here. Looks really pretty at night. So I planted, last year was my first year with these raised beds. We built them in the spring. They have lasted pretty well. We used leftover tin from our carport. We got a new carport when I moved in my catering kitchen and craft room. That'll be a topic for another video. And last year I just planted. I just put stuff in that I wanted. I went by the usual spacing on the seed packets for the most part, and it did pretty well. I got tons and tons of tomatoes. But this year, I decided to try square foot gardening because I wanted to try to maximize the production in the space that I have. Let me tell you a little bit about what I have in these raised beds. When we first built them, I did a little bit of research about filling large raised beds. These are over 2 foot tall, so they're pretty deep. And I decided to use the hugelkultur method, where it's kind of like lasagna, where you just layer different layers, the browns and the greens, and then you put your soil and your compost and rabbit poop. My kids do show rabbits, so I have an abundance of that. And that is what is filled. That's what I use to fill these raised beds. I've had to top it off in the fall and again this spring to bring it back up to where I needed it to be to plant. So let's just go over a little bit of what I have in these beds. Now, I have a mix of a bunch of different stuff. I've got tomatoes and peppers and flowers and onions and strawberries. Let's start over here. I've got some strawberry plants here. I have 2 squares of red onion. And then in this last square, I have petunias. I just seeded those. Let me look over here at the tag. All right, I have 2 purple bell peppers. Excuse me. And then this one, I think that's a pepperoncini. I grew this one from seed. It's a little bit short, but it's in here and it's going to take off. Bought some marigolds to go in here. Here's another pepperoncini. I have 2 tomatillos in here. There's the first one. And the second one is right over there. And right in the middle, I have mammoth sunflowers. I've got 3 of those in there. And then I have 4 different kinds of tomatoes. I have the beefsteak right here. Sweetie cherry. The next one is a brown berry. And then aroma. I decided to trellis my tomatoes on the cattle panel. Last year I did cucumbers here, and I had 6 cucumber plants on each side. I did the slicers on one side and pickling cucumbers on the other, and I just had way more cucumbers than I could ever deal with. I made pickles, we ate fresh, and still had an overabundance. So this year I decided to put my cucumbers in another place and use these to trellis my tomatoes, because I knew I wanted to try a bunch of different tomato varieties this year. Some of them I've done before, like the beefsteak and the sweetie cherry, and I know they're good producers, but all the others are new to me, some seeds that were given to me. So we're going to try. We're going to play. We're going to see what we can come up with. At this side, I have aroma. This is my second 4 foot by 4 foot raised bed. On the other side of the cattle panel trellis, I have aroma. I have a blush cherry. Let me move to the other side so I can read. That's a honey drop, and then another beefsteak. Now right here is a tame jalapeno. In the center right here, I have more sunflowers. There's a tomatillo right there, and I'll go figure out what that one is right there in a minute. I have some thyme. I grew this from seed. Now, let me tell you, all of these tomatoes that are on the trellis, I grew from seed and buried them way deep. So they were a lot taller when I put them in. So I have some thyme, I have some oregano, sweet basil, and then more of the red onion. And then back over here, I have more marigolds. I need to take that in. That's what I use to soak my bean seeds overnight. Cilantro, strawberries, and then my kale that survived our very mild winter, and it is absolutely gorgeous. Before we leave this second 4 foot raised bed, I wanted to let you know that I grew these sweetie cherry tomatoes last year, and we have a goat pen on the other side of this building, and I had 2 extras from planting them in here. The ones in here didn't do as well. The ones in the goat pen were growing up a cattle panel that was used to make the pen, so it was on its side. 2 tomato plants took up 8 feet. So they're indeterminate, so they just grew and grew and grew, and I have so many cherry tomatoes in my freezer right now. They are just very, very prolific. Something else I kind of wanted to say about this, I have some crops in these that I'm kind of experimenting. This whole year is going to be an experiment to see how this goes, but I made sure and put tomatoes in every single bed. I put cilantro in almost all the beds. I put the strawberries and some of the other herbs in all these beds. I have some herb containers in a different location, but I wanted to see where they grew best, where they were slower to bolt, where I could keep them growing longer, because we get really hot here in Texas. And my cilantro bolts really fast, and I love fresh cilantro. So we're going to see which bed and which little microclimate grows it the best. That way I'll know where to plant more of it next year. Okay, I'm going to go right down here. I have containers that I noticed didn't drain very well. They all have drain holes, but last year the soil that I bought to put in them had a lot of sand in it, so I've amended that with peat moss and vermiculite to make it a lot lighter, and some bag potting soil. And then I drilled a couple extra holes and I raised them up on bricks to make drainage a whole lot easier. So we're going to see how that goes this year. And in these two red, faded red, but they're still red pots, I have my pineapple ground cherries. If you are a fan of Roots and Refuge Farm, you know exactly what these are. They call them garden snacks. They're just like a sweet little tiny, they're about the size of a small cherry tomato, but they grow in husks like tomatillos. And when they drop, they're ready. And they are sweet, a little bit tart. They're just a fruity type of tomato. I'm just growing these because I like to have a snack when I come out to the garden. Okay, here is the third 4x4 raised bed, and I have just about the same stuff in it as I have in the others. I've got some strawberries, thyme, oregano. Here's another cilantro, sweet basil, 2 tame jalapenos, some more red onion, a banana pepper, California Wonder bell pepper. I started that from seed. All the herbs I started from seed also. There's another California Wonder and another banana pepper. And back here I have some tomatoes. Let's see, this is a black Krim, yellow pear, Cherokee purple, and a Brandywine. So there's this one. And the last raised bed is a 4x8 bed. And these are packed full. I'm hoping that they grow and produce. And here's another place where I have thrown in some more herbs. I've got some parsley, some cilantro. I believe that is oregano, and some more basil in the back. I'm hoping that the tomatoes will grow up in the front. So this is east and this is west. So the sun rises here. It peaks up over the top of my building, and this will get morning sun first. And then it will get afternoon sun also. So I'm hoping that my herbs back here will get some good morning sun. But by the time the afternoon comes around, they'll be a little bit more shaded from the tomatoes that I've planted in the front. That's my hope. That's the experiment. We're going to see what happens. And along the back here, I have some more of the purple onions. Never grown onions before. We're going to see. Right here, along the front and the back of this trellis, in this 4-foot area, I've got sugar snap peas. I love dipping those in hummus, and I'd love to be able to just come and grab a handful, take them inside, dip them in some hummus, have that for a snack. And then in the next two, I have green beans. Also in front, and right here, I have 2 rows of green onions. So we're going to see how that works. I'm trying to use up all the space that I have in my beds. All right, let's go over to my containers. This first one, I'm calling it my herb container. It's the first one that you encounter when you walk through the gate out of the driveway. And I'm hoping that I get some of the smells off of this and that it's amazing. So I have sage, oregano, parsley, cilantro. I bought some purple basil and some mojito mint to put in here. This is just a little flower bed that I just made this year. I forget what I seeded in here. I don't remember, but they're coming up. This is a daisy, and this plant I bought last spring, and it has survived. There's another one down in the end, and I'll show you in a minute. But here's where I decided to do my cucumbers. So I have 3 cucumber munchers. That's the name of them, on each side of this trellis. And in front of those, I put some dill. Hoping, I read somewhere that dill kind of discourages the what am I going to call them, the insects on cucumbers, so we'll just hope. If not, I have a good place for my dill. More flower bed. I've got some pots that I'm going to put in here with some things that I started from seed. And here's the other side. 3 more cucumber and 3 more dill. And here's another herb container. Parsley, cilantro, sage, basil, and oregano. I start all of those from seeds. Just a little cute view on the way around to the other one. That's my succulent garden. I will show y'all that on another video. And over here, I've still got some room left, but I have some oregano, parsley, and sage. That is, that's it for the containers. I don't know what I'm going to plant in here, but I've got some room, so wherever I've got open space, I'm going to do it. All right. Last year, when I put these in the fall, I put them in the spring and hand watered everything, and it took me about an hour to water my whole garden because I watered at the base, and I just stood there and watered everything, all of my pot plants, all that stuff. Spent an hour in the evening. Well, I decided that I wanted to invest in some drip, and I did. But when I needed to amend the soil and refill, I had to pull all the drip out. And now I'm doing the square foot gardening, so I am going to actually redo the drip to where it's going in between all of these plants. So I've got some pieces coming. They should be in the mail today. Love Amazon Prime. And I've got some cookies to do, a couple of orders to do for this weekend, so probably won't get to it until this weekend. So until then, I'll just continue to hand water. I'm going to walk you over here and show you a little peek in my greenhouse. This was my Christmas present from my husband. Of course, we built it together using aluminum frame windows that I got Amazon Marketplace for $100 for all of them. And then these big, huge doors. I got, that's 5, 6 of them for free, just for picking them up. So they're amazing. I still have a lot of work to do in my greenhouse. A lot of shelving to build, but I had to get in here. I had to get my seeds started, so that's where I'm at. I've got stuff everywhere. But now I have this. So I kind of overdid it on my seed starting. This year is all about experimentation. So I started them in the cells, okay? And then I started some in the pots. I got all these from the Dollar Tree. It was like 6 or 8 for $1. And then in the grow bags. I wanted to see which ones grew best. And which ones retain their moisture better. So I'd know next year how to start them and which containers and which method to use. So anyway, yeah, I have a ton of stuff left. A ton. I'll be giving some away to some very dear friends' parents. They're just awesome. I love them. And I might even sell some. We'll see. But I have tons left. I have eggplant and zucchini and yellow squash. That was also growing in the goat pen last year. I really don't want to use the goat pen. So I want everything here where I can see it. I like walking outside where I can see all my stuff. So I have another bed here. It's got a bunch of leaves in it, and it's really hard to get rid of them. But this is a 16-foot bed. It's 16 by about 2.5 feet. That's completely empty. You saw I still have a lot of seedlings in there that I could transplant, but I haven't figured out what I want to put in here just yet. So I'm going to put that on hold. But then I have another area. I absolutely love succulents. So I have this very large area. Nothing is planted in the ground here. Y'all excuse the grass. I mowed, and then my husband was tired from mowing all the other places he does, and he didn't weed eat. So there's tall grass right up in here. But everything in this bed is in containers, so they can all be moved. So I thought, why don't I clean all this mulch out and plant all of my large plants in here? Because I certainly didn't want to put them in here. I had squash and zucchini in that back bed last year, and it didn't produce very well at all. And it was only like 6 plants. And I've got 16 plants in that raised bed right now. So yeah, much better. I'm going to get much better yield out of those than the 6 plants that I had in last year that didn't produce, but maybe 4 or 5 zucchinis, maybe the same amount of squash. Even with them close together, I'm going to single stem them. Those are all indeterminate, so they'll just keep going and going and going. I'm excited about that. I'm excited to see the yield that I get out of this. Anyway, I have this area that I'm going to clean up. I'm going to move the pots. We got a dog for my son's birthday in December, and he tore everything up. I mean, he knocked over all of my plants, killed a bunch of stuff. So, anyway, we had to get rid of him. He is in a wonderful new home with a little college girl. He's living his best life. But now I have to clean up the mess. So I am going to put my squash, my zucchini, my eggplant in ground here. So I am hoping that this area is going to be good. I'm definitely going to have to amend the soil because underneath is just sand. It's very, very sandy here. As you can see, we've had to purchase grass. There was grass here. The soil is bad. You would think it would be amazing because this whole place used to be a garden, but it has been 25 years since it was a garden, and it's just gone back to the sand. But we have trees, big oak trees that my husband planted that I cannot get rid of. Anyway, you feel my pain because there's leaves everywhere. But anyway, back to the soil. It's sandy. So I'm definitely going to have to add some soil in here and some compost and get it amended before I can put those in the ground. I'm hoping that will happen this weekend. So there you go. This is what my morning looks like. I get up in the morning, I come outside, I grab my coffee, and I come out and see what's happening in my garden. This is like my favorite part. All right, guys, thanks for joining me. Have a wonderful day.